Last-minute shake-up at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning, Ryan. It's okay.
And staying in front of the day isn't always as
Thanks,
simple
Ryan.
as 1,
What's
2,
up?
3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
What's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM 1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership today.
You're listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Richey, winner of the Share Care Emmy Award for Social Storytelling and the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Richey, and today I got construction going on the outside of my apartment. So I'm in New York City, and I think it's every 10 years, they have to, if you've ever been to New York and you've seen scaffolding everywhere, that is a law. Every 10 years, they put scaffolding up, and then they check the bricks and check the facades and make sure that nothing is going to fall off of the building and land on the pedestrians below. So, they're doing it on my apartment, and I am not in my living room because it just sounds like a jackhammer in that room. So I've managed to make it to the other side of the apartment. That's why you see them set up. If you're watching from YouTube, I am in my bedroom, and so it's a little bit different of a layout today, and also a little bit different of a topic today. I like the idea of it. The topic is called a time-bound practice for extra discipline. A time-bound practice for extra discipline. Now, what that basically means is setting aside some time, and you can pick a month, any month, and say, this is a good time where we are going to do this, and set aside a time where you practice something that you did not practice before. Now, this might be a little bit different than a New Year's resolution, because the resolution for the new year is to do something for the year. This is a much shorter time-bound practice, so it could be a week. Listen, I'm going to take a week and not drink coffee. Oh my gosh, I just cracked myself up. But I'm practicing something else, something different. So every year, not as a religious practice, and I mean that in the religious form of the word, not as a religious practice, every year during Lent, I practice something. It's not a religious observance, but it is a discipline practice. And Lent is practiced by some Christians as a practice for practicing self-control, but also remembering the time that Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days, and it lasts from Ash Wednesday until Easter Sunday. So last year, my discipline was to eat a salad every day. And in part, this year, I mean, I thought it'd be hard because I don't eat salads every day. And of course, I've got a client who's like, oh, I do that every day anyway. That would be so easy for me. And I'm like, well, then that's not your practice. So for me this year, it's a bit lengthier and a bit more involved. So in part, my practice this year is part of a basically 40 days focusing on body recomposition. If you're not familiar with the idea of recomposition, it is to cut body fat while still building muscle. Now, a lot of times, most times, when you are looking at cutting, there's kind of bulking phases and cutting phases. And I have been bulking, and I've added on about some 160, 165, and I'm weighing in about 180 now. So over the course of the last few months, I put on 15 to 20 pounds. Certainly not all of that is muscle. Much to my chagrin, don't get me wrong. I'm like, this is not all the way I want it to be, but I am very proud that I've been able to put some bulk on. Now, I would like to now use this time frame to help me. And so some of it is dietary and some of it's exercise that is different than what I normally do. So here's the first thing. And I gave the list to my wife because I'm doing it. I'm showing it to her and show it to my clients right away. As soon as I make the list, this is for my clients. I want them to see it and they can hold me responsible and they can ask me about it. Am I staying with my goals for the next 40 days? And so the first one is no ultra processed foods. And I also want to say that we are several days into Lent. By the way, no disrespect for those who are observing Lent as a religious holiday or a religious time frame and a time of sacrifice and a time of homage and a time to think about the religious implications of what that is. I'm not doing that. And I don't mean to come across as taking that from you. I am just saying I see what you're doing and I would like to put that to practice in my life, and I'm just going to do it the time frame that you do it. So with that being said, no ultra processed foods. And there's a difference between processed foods and ultra processed foods because processed foods have been changed from their natural state, while ultra processed foods are highly processed and contain a lot of additives. So processed foods, one way of processing, sometimes they say we got to process the apples. And what that means is that they just wash them, and that's processing. That could be pasteurizing milk. That's a part of processing. They don't add anything to it. They just do this. I'm putting it in a can, putting it in a bag, having it in a container, a box that it ships out into. It's part of food processing. But there are some ultra processed foods, and that's going to be highly refined. And then it's got extra stuff in it. A lot of additives get put in there. So ultra processed foods are substances extracted from foods or derived from food components. And they have a lot of additives. Some of those are sweeteners, some of them are preservatives, some are emulsifiers. They are generally packaged and ready to eat. And they also, ultra processed foods are linked to weight gain and heart disease, dementia, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. So I'm trying to be a little more whole foods, trying to go with whole foods. But one of the problems with that, as I get to this point where I'm trying to take in the whole foods, is there are a certain amount of protein calories that I'm trying to get, and I'm having a hard time getting my protein calories in while not having protein powder. So this is where I think it's important to identify that even though it is a practice, and I have a list of things, I'm going to give you the list of them, and we're going to go through my list, which is a lot more this year than just eat a salad every day. And maybe it can inspire you to say, hey, for the rest of the time until Easter, or for the rest of the month, or for a week, or try to find a time frame to give a little extra discipline upon self. Now, I don't know if you've ever done this as a trainer where you said, hey, I'm going to try to cut down 5 pounds, which is what about half to 100% of our clients are trying to do, and realize that that can be very challenging. So things like this, and not even regarding weight loss, but just an extra practice, extra discipline. Because my last years, none of them have ever been about weight loss. Some of them have been a certain amount of time to read, and the salad wasn't about weight loss. Salad was just trying to get a better practice with eating whole food. So I'm going to go into my list after this. This episode of the NASM-CPT Podcast is brought to you by NASM One, the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. Get the Edge app to schedule and program clients. Enjoy half off all certifications and specializations, access to free CEUs, and more. All of this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM One. All right. So number one, no ultra processed foods, which I have already created a modification because I was very specific. No ultra processed foods. That means I can have ultra processed drinks. and that's going to come in handy when it get to my protein goals. All right. The second one is no cheese. I immediately showed the list to my wife. She read that as the second thing and said, I'm out. Good luck with it. That sounds terrible. So just adding that in there, my no cheese, I'm going to go without. I'm going to eat my daily, the daily recommended allowance for fruits. And I feel like I get that with vegetables, but a lot of times I might grab a piece of fruit, but sometimes I'll go a day without eating fruit, or I'll grab a snack bar as a snack instead of a piece of fruit for a snack. So I have in there my recommended daily allowance for or servings for fruit, but also it says specifically fruit instead of bars. And I can clearly then go into my next one, which says nothing in a wrapper. So my bars come in a wrapper. So I'm saying nothing. If it comes in a wrapper, I ain't going to eat it. So that one I am taking out. Also, no breads, no wraps, because I don't necessarily eat a lot of bread, but man, I will put something in a wrap and eat it. And I'm diabetic, so I'll get these low carb wraps, and I think they're delicious. And I end up just eating my food in a wrap. And sometimes I can eat the same thing that's in the wrap and just put it in a bowl and have it without the ultra processed component there. So I'm going to remove the wrap and focus on just the food, the whole food without the wrap. And then I also have no chips, and chips aren't usually a problem for me. And I realize occasionally we'll go to Chipotle and I'll won't get the wrap because I can't manage those carbs, but the chips will come and I'll reach in and start grabbing some of the chips when we get ordered. And I'm like, just take that out of the list. And it's hard because when it's present, it's hard not just out of habit to grab something and eat it. So here's the thing. If that's the case and you're doing a discipline and you say, well, I'm not going to do any, let's say chips. And then you grab a chip because you're setting it out, you're prepping food for your children, you grab a chip, and you did not ruin it. And that's where you really have to be like, oh, I'm supposed to go 40 days. I couldn't go 4 hours without doing this or whatever your time frame is. And you realize just out of habit, you grabbed something, threw it in your mouth, chewed it up, and was like, oh, I wasn't supposed to have that. It's okay. You acknowledge it and you move on, just like anything else in your practice. It is a lifestyle that we try to implement that so you don't ruin lifestyle with one mess up. So I'm going to ask that you not say, I've ruined my time-bound commitment of extra discipline because I messed up. You messed up, acknowledge it, and then it'll help you be more conscious because it is subconsciously we grab for food. Subconsciously we grab snacks sometimes and eat them. So be aware of that. Now, my next one is I'm going to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And I'm not a particularly big guy, but right now I'm weighing in at 180. I'd like to get back down to one in this 170. So, and my goal is not to lose 10 pounds of body fat during this time. This is just a period of practice for me. But eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight means that I would be eating 180 grams of meat. So what I did is I go through and I prepare different meats on the weekend, and then I put them in their own little containers, and I've kind of put everything out. And then I realized 180 grams of protein is hard for me to get if I'm not having supplemental protein, like a protein powder, and I can't have a protein bar. So no bars, nothing in a wrapper. And because that fills 2 of the categories I said I didn't want, then what I decided to do was say, I'm going to go ultra 3 because they're ultra processed, that even though a protein drink can be ultra processed, it is helping me get to another goal that's highly important. So I am adding an ultra processed. I didn't throw it away. I didn't say, oh man, I'm drinking protein drinks. I said I wasn't going to do any of that. I just created a modification. Because as I start to go through it, I realize one of these things is going to be beyond difficult to do. And I don't want to eat that much chicken or turkey or steak throughout the next 5 or 6 weeks. So I would rather just be able to get a drink first thing in the morning. There's my 30 grams of protein, and I feel like that's a great jump start. And then I can start with some of the meats. And I also don't like eating this much meat. I don't think it's particularly healthy for me. So I am doing this for a finite period of time. So with that said, I also made a commitment to run 1 mile a day every day for 40 days. I know for a lot of you, it's not a lot. And I was like, I think I'll do that. It won't be an issue. And then I went out and I ran my first mile. And of course, with the extra 15 to 20 pounds and the arthritic knee, I had to stop twice while running just a mile because my knee was hurting. Now, I don't like that. That doesn't make me proud. But what I didn't do is say, let me go back and erase and say, I'm not going to do this. What I did, in fact, was, and I don't run fast, probably because it hurts. And also, I could be better at this. But I said, well, let's just say it's a 10-minute endeavor. So instead of saying I'm going to run a mile, I'm just going to work out. I'm going to do cardio 10 minutes every day for 40 days as a minimum. Now I can do more than that, obviously, but as a minimum, 10 minutes a day instead of sticking with the mile, which did not serve me. So I'm still going to add something in. And this is something that if you're working with your training clients with, and they're trying to identify what can I do, and they say run a mile every day, and you say, oh, that doesn't sound very bad. And then you see them again, they go, oh, I couldn't. I stopped running a mile every day because it bothered my ankle. I ended up getting shin splints. I got this. It's take the mile out, because what they're doing is they take the mile out, but don't put something else in. I would rather say, let's see if we can get something else and put in there that isn't running the mile, that doesn't hurt you. Let's find something that works instead of forcing something that doesn't work, and it will make you quit. So I would rather find something else. And this came because I had posted about it, and one of the trainers that trains at one of the gyms, she was like, Courtney, she reached out and she goes, oh, I like what you're doing. I'm doing 10 minutes of cardio every day. And I was like, oh, I guess that's a much better thing instead of one specific thing that hurts. So that's what I did. I got 2 more. Drink 68 ounces of water every day. And my lovely wife got a water bottle for me for Christmas, and it shows you how much water you drink. So you just drink it, and it tells you based off your activity level and your height and your weight and all that. You just put in stuff into the app on the phone, and then it tells you how much water as an estimate. So mine was 68 ounces of water based on whatever its projections are. But I thought, oh, that's pretty good. It's 4 more than the 64 that I would have otherwise gone for. I said, why not? So 68 ounces of water, and my water bottle tells me where I am. I keep drinking water, and it's like, you're at 23%. So first thing in the morning, I like to get 10% before I walk out the door done, so that I have a nice jump on the day. First thing in the morning, right before I leave the house, I've at least drank 6.8 ounces of water, and I haven't left the house yet. And I've got one more thing that I plan to do. And I know some of y'all are going to think this is gross that I don't do it, but I don't. And I'm going to be honest with you. And then you can judge me if you will, judgy judgertons. But I am not a daily flosser. And I do have 2 teeth where I tend to get stuff in between. And like, I will literally, like almost every day, floss just that between those 2 teeth and make sure that that's cleaned out, because that's where stuff gets. And then I won't do the rest of it, which would only take another 60 seconds to get done. And I won't do it. And so therefore, for my commitment, I'm adding in flossing. So again, if I go through that list there, it's no ultra processed foods, no cheese, fruits instead of bars, and the recommended allowance of fruit, nothing in a wrapper, no bread, no wraps, no chips, eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, 10 minutes of cardio a day, not run a mile every day, I'm switched that already, drink 68 ounces of water daily with my fancy water bottle, and then floss every day. And that's my goal all the way up until Easter 2025. this is my time-bound moment. I do it every year. Try to find something. Usually I pick one thing. I don't know what got into me this year, but I was like, again, I showed it to my wife and she was like, I don't know, that's a bit much. It is. It is. But I feel comfortable and I feel confident that I'll be able to stick to my goals. And I also am doing this because I want some, at least a jump start on some outcomes. And the great thing about it was that after I did this for 40 days, last year, let's just use the salad, for example. I ate a lot more salad regularly throughout the week. And I didn't eat it every day, but it was really enjoyable eating salad every day. And I really enjoyed getting salad on a regular basis going forward. So I think it was something that helped me just facilitate in a small amount a lifestyle change. Reading when I did before, then that allowed me to, when it was over, I wasn't like, great, I read for 40 days and 40 nights. Now I'm done. No, it was nice because then I was like, man, this is really enjoyable. I'm sitting down reading and making sure that I'm doing this every day. That's something that I continue to do, and maybe not every day, but it's much easier to pick up. And that's the point of it. Being able to practice the discipline, to dig your heels in, to challenge yourself, to make modifications as needed as you go along, and use that to help you be better at implementing things into your lifestyle once this is over. All right. I hope you found that helpful. If you were so inclined, I'd like for you to like, subscribe, share with your fitness friends and family. And if you want to reach out to me, you can hit me up on Instagram at dr.rickrichey or email me rick.richey@nasm.org. Y'all keep inspiring people to fitness. Thanks for listening. This has been the NASM CPT Podcast.